What really happened at the dinner table? Why would Jungkook's one decision in Los Angeles keep Taehyung silent for so long, as if 1,000 words were stuck in his throat? Is it just about a casual dinner, or is there a hidden message deliberately conveyed in Jimin's presence? Armies around the world were stunned, and some began to wonder, is this a sign of something much bigger before BTS's 2026 comeback? Los Angeles that night was no different from any other night in the light. Filled city, the streetlights flickered. The air carried the mixed scents of the restaurants that filled Koreatown, and pedestrians walked briskly, either toward homes or simply looking for a place to relieve fatigue. However, on a street corner not far from a neon sign reading Baekjeong, something happened that made the world seem to stop beating for millions of BTS fans. Behind the glass doors of the Korean barbecue restaurant, which was recently relocated in May 2025, three unmistakable figures are sitting around a round table containing a lit grill. Jungkook, Taehyung, and Jimin. Three names were enough to trigger an emotional wave in ARMY's heart, especially after a long time the world no longer saw them together in this relaxed atmosphere. However, it wasn't just the togetherness that made the evening a global discussion. There was one moment, something so fleeting, yet not escaping the keen eyes of a few fans who happened to be in the same place, that is now at the center of the mystery. Jungkook, with a calm but confident gesture, did something. A decision. Whether he realized it or not, Taehyung was silent. Not smiling as usual, not making light comments, not even trying to divert the atmosphere with his trademark jokes. He was just silent, staring at the smoldering grill, as if his thoughts were floating somewhere. And at the same time, Jimin looked at both of them with a look that was difficult to interpret, between curious, anxious, and a little smile like hiding something. The question is, what decision can make a Kim Taehyung who is known to be spontaneous, expressive, and full of energy, stopped from any reaction? Is this related to BTS's comeback plan, which has been confirmed to take place in spring 2026? Or is it something more personal that will never be discussed in public? ARMY on social media immediately split into two large camps, those who believe this is just a small moment without meaning, and those who believe that this is the beginning signal of something bigger, perhaps a conflict, or rather a secret agreement delivered without words. Baekjeong itself, the restaurant that bears silent witness to this moment, is no stranger to BTS. Known for its warm atmosphere, high-quality meat, and friendly service, Baekjeong has been visited several times by members in the past. However, since moving to the center of Koreatown in May 2025, the restaurant has become increasingly crowded and a frequent destination for celebrities. It's no wonder that visitors that night were surprised to see three BTS members sitting in a corner of the room, trying to enjoy dinner while talking about something that was clearly not an ordinary chat. The phone's camera quickly picked up, but the strange atmosphere created made some people choose to just observe rather than directly share the photo. Jungkook looked different that night. Not that he lost his cheerfulness or energy, but there was an impression that he was carrying a burden that he did not want to share in vain. Even the way he held the chopsticks, poured the drink, and looked at Taehyung felt thoughtful. The moment that made ARMY even more curious was when Jungkook put down his chopsticks, looked directly at Taehyung, and said something that was inaudible due to the noise of the restaurant. The next moment, Taehyung was silent. Not replying with words, just sighing slowly. Then looking down, what did Jungkook say? Why is Taehyung's reaction so heavy? And what does Jimin's gaze mean, as if trying to measure the two? Some witnesses claim to have seen Jimin try to divert the conversation by asking about the additional menu, but the atmosphere at the table was still tense even though the conversation finally flowed slowly again. This incident becomes even more dramatic considering that BTS is currently at an important moment in their career. After all the members have completed their mandatory military service, their focus is now on a full-length comeback album scheduled for spring 2026. Rumors say that the creative process of this album is very intense, with a lot of discussion, debate, even tension between the members in order to produce work that truly represents their togetherness after so long apart. Was Jungkook's decision that night related to the concept or musical direction of the album? Or is it about personal decisions that can affect group dynamics? ARMY on Twitter, or X, immediately made various speculations. Some have linked it to their appearance at a major music event in the US next week, while others have speculated that this is about a planned world tour that will reportedly begin shortly after the comeback. However, the most talked about theory was that Jungkook had decided something regarding his role in the group, something Taehyung didn't expect would come out of his mouth that night. What makes all of this even more compelling is the fact that none of them talked about the dinner on social media afterwards. No group photos, no like comments, not even IG story posts as usual. It was as if the moment belonged to only the three of them, and the public was only given the opportunity to catch a glimpse, enough to make the curiosity even more unbearable. The question now leads to one thing. Will we get the answer in the near future? Or will this be one of those mysteries that only the three of them know? One thing's for sure, that night in Baekjeong will be long remembered by fans, not just as a casual encounter, but as the point where a decision was able to leave Taehyung, the colorful Sangvi, at a loss for words. A few days after the incident, the atmosphere among the army showed no signs of abating. Every little detail of the night in Baekjeong was thoroughly dissected in forums, chat groups, and social media posts. A person who claimed to be sitting not far from Jungkook, Taehyung, and Jimin's table shared a story that further piqued the public's curiosity. He said that before Jungkook said something that made Taehyung speechless, the three were talking about a trip that no details were mentioned. The word journey was, according to witnesses, spoken by Jimin in a cautious tone, as if he knew the topic would trigger a certain reaction from Jungkook. Jungkook, who was wearing a simple black jacket and beanie hat that night, stared at Jimin for a while before turning his gaze to Taehyung. There was a very short, barely noticeable pause, but eyewitnesses felt that the pause was full of meaning. Afterwards, Jungkook's words came out with a low but firm intonation. Whatever he said, the effect was immediate. Taehyung, who was previously relaxed, leaned back in his chair, immediately sat up straighter, then lowered his head while playing with the glass in his hand. There was no laughter, no smile, only a depressing silence. Even the sound of dishes clinking from another table seemed to be the only background sound in between the tension. Even more interesting, after that moment, Jimin seemed to be trying hard to change the subject. He called the waiter, ordered more meat, even slipped a light comment about how much they missed this kind of atmosphere. But strangely, Jungkook did not respond immediately. He only nodded briefly, then took a sip of his drink while occasionally looking at Taehyung. It wasn't an angry look, but it wasn't an ordinary look either. There is a sense of worry there, or maybe a sense of confidence that he has said something that needs to be said even though it is heavy. As soon as the story of this witness appeared on social media, speculation exploded. Some army began to suspect that the trip in question is not just a vacation or personal affairs. Some theories say that they are talking about filming locations for the big comeback 2026 project. There are also those who believe that this is related to the idea of an album concept that is being discussed by the members. Jungkook is known as a perfectionist when it comes to music, and it's no secret that he often provides direct input that can sound harsh to some. Did he just reveal a decision that changed the direction of his comeback plans? Another equally wild theory is that this is related to their world tour schedule. Rumors circulating among the music industry say that BTS plans to hold a global tour that will begin immediately after the release of the new album. However, there are internal issues related to the order of the cities they will visit. Some unofficial sources claim that Taehyung wants to visit countries that have been rarely included in BTS's concert route, while Jungkook prefers to start from countries with the largest fan base in the interests of maximum promotion. If these rumors are true, the decision taken that night may be a meeting point, or a point of difference, between the two. However, one thing that makes all of this even more emotional is the fact that Jungkook and Taehyung are not two people who are often seen at odds in public. On the contrary, they are known to have a unique relationship, full of jokes and cohesiveness, although their characters are very different. The presence of 3 BTS members in LA itself is no coincidence. They are currently in the United States working on a new music project, reportedly working with several well-known producers who were previously involved in their global hits. Their presence in Baekjeong is just one of the few relaxing moments amid the hectic schedule. However, it was precisely this moment that managed to provoke the attention of the world, proving that even the slightest interaction of them is capable of shaking the emotions of millions of people. What made it all the more mysterious was how these three members behaved after that night. Jimin, usually active on social media, suddenly cut back on his posts. Jungkook, who often live streams to greet fans, has not reappeared since the incident. Taehyung also shared more artistic photos on Instagram, without captions explaining anything. The ARMY began reading the code in each of their posts, looking for hidden clues as to what was really going on. Someone noticed that one of Taehyung's photos showed the shadows of three people on a dimly lit street. Some fans believe it was a photo taken on the night of a joint meal, and the shadow depicts the emotional distance that ensued after Jungkook's decision was pronounced. Whether this theory is true or not is uncertain. However, one thing is clear: this mystery is deepening, and the ARMY is increasingly looking forward to finding the answer. The following days after dinner in Baekjeong felt like a big puzzle left hanging in the air. Every time the ARMY tries to put the pieces of the story together, there's always a new detail that raises more questions than answers. On Twitter, hashtags such as #BaekjeongNight, #WhatJK and #VSilent started trending, surpassing even the big topics of the international entertainment world. This moment is no longer just celebrity gossip, but a pop culture phenomenon that unites millions of people around the world in one common curiosity point. One of the developments that made this furor even hotter came from a staffer who claimed to have worked on the production team of a local culinary show in Los Angeles. In an anonymous post on K Entertainment's forum, he wrote that he had a brief conversation with a Baekjeong employee that night. According to the story, before Jungkook announced his decision, the three members briefly talked about LA Project, a term they don't usually use in public. The term itself is enough to fuel wild speculation. Is this LA Project part of BTS's upcoming comeback? Or is it precisely a secret project outside of music that few people know about? What makes this story even more interesting is the small detail he shares. Jungkook, the employee said, looked down briefly before pronouncing his sentence, as if he were weighing the risks of each word. When he finally spoke, his voice was not high, but his stern tone sounded clear even to people standing a few steps away from their desks. The sentence, while not sounding complete, has the word "start" in it. A simple word, but in the context of the night, it could mean anything: embarking on a tour, embarking on a new project, or embarking on something that could change their dynamics forever. Taehyung, who is known for his unpredictable facial expressions, shows a reaction that he rarely shows. There was no mysterious smile, no ignorant look, just a blank look that occasionally moved towards Jimin, as if looking for an additional explanation. Jimin didn't say much. He only patted Taehyung on the back briefly, then continued his meal with a slow motion, like a person trying to calm the atmosphere without making it more awkward. This is where speculation begins to move into more sensitive territory. Some have suggested that Jungkook's decision may relate to a creative role on the new album. During this time, although BTS worked collectively, each member had a distinctive role. Jungkook, with his skill in arrangement and production, might have proposed a major change to the concept they had agreed upon earlier. If that's the case, it's only natural that Taehyung will need time to process it, especially if the change will affect his own artistic path. However, another, more emotional theory says that the decision is personal. Some fans attributed it to the members' individual plans post-comeback. It could be that Jungkook announcing that he was going to start something outside of group activities that took Taehyung by surprise, not because he was against it, but because he didn't expect Jungkook to say it now, in the middle of a casual moment that should only be filled with laughter and lighthearted stories. What makes all of this even more disturbing is how fans began to find patterns on their social media after the incident. Jungkook, for example, uploaded a black and white photo of an empty street at night. No captions, just a silent picture with street lights dimmed. Some ARMY believed this was a representation of the new path he would take, while Taehyung shared a photo of the LA sky at dusk with a short caption, "Not every silence is empty." That sentence immediately sparked a wild interpretation. Was he talking about the night in Baekjeong? Or is this just a coincidence? Jimin, on the other hand, remains the most difficult figure to read. He did not directly mention the incident, but in one of his brief live on Weverse, he briefly said, "Sometimes, we just need to hear first before we can answer." That simple remark, in the context of rumors, seems to confirm that the evening was indeed marked by a heavier conversation than just casual chat. Los Angeles itself is now an inescapable focal point. Some local media outlets started covering the phenomenon, though not all realized how much of an impact it would have on the global fan community. Baekjong Restaurant was suddenly flooded with visitors, some coming just to sit in the same seats as BTS, hoping to feel a little energy from this night of mystery. The waitress who worked that night admitted that she did not expect that an ordinary dinner could become international news. "They came, ordered food, and sat quite a long time," he said. "But I could feel that something was being talked about very seriously."